Greetings from LA, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue on with our journeys, our discussions, our discoveries, and our explorations with respect to the recent releases made by the Criterion Collection during this year of 2024. And that brings us to a title which actually already currently exists in the Criterion Collection physical media catalog at spine number 654. But this year, this year, at the occasion of 2024, Criterion has re-released this film, employing the 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo edition format, and also purported to be based on what is described as a new 4K digital restoration of this work. And this is a work which is described as being from the year 1984. And the name of the filmmaker is Alex Cox. And the name of the work is Repo Man. This is the really superb, one-of-a-kind, just a fantastic work from the writer-director Alex Cox. We have produced by Jonathan Wax, Peter McCarthy, executive producer Michael Nesmith, and the director of photography Robbie Mueller. And with a fantastic musical score, among which we have the theme, the Repo Man theme by Iggy Pop and also others, and then starring, and this is also one of the great treats of this film, the cast of this is absolutely unbelievable. We have people like, oh my goodness, oh yes, Dick Rude and Xander Schloss and Olivia Barash, Tracy Walter, and Harry Dean Stanton, and Emilio Estevez. Harry Dean Stanton is Bud, and Emilio Estevez is Otto. I love that name, Otto. In this work, everything about this work, everything about this work just makes me so happy to think about. It's such a fantastic film through and through. This is the work which is the classic film from Alex Cox. It's this film from 1984, Repo Man. Oh my goodness. So much to say about Repo Man. Yes, I love this film. I absolutely love this film. It's one of the great works by Alex Cox. Just a maverick, tour de force, a punk rock 80s film noir, a nuclear explosion, comedy of errors film starring, among others, Emilio Estevez and Dick Rude and Tracy Walter and Harry Dean Stanton and others. Are you kidding me? This is amazing, absolutely amazing. So it's a classic, absolute classic. And I should say too that not only is the film utterly top notch, it's one of the great Criterion Collection Blu-ray releases. It's packed, absolutely packed. And we'll talk a little bit about the commentary tracks there, some of the supplements, and also a different version of the film as well, and also the great booklet. It's not a staple booklet, it's not a folder, but it's glue bound. It's fantastic. I love it, and the color design and everything. This is one of the great examples of physical media packaging from Criterion. It was like that before, and it's still like that now. So it's great to get a lovely reminder of just how, when the labels like Criterion decide to take out all the stops when it comes to physical media packaging and stuff. You get great examples like we have here with Repo Man. We had it before and we still have it now. So this is just totally fantastic. Oh, I should say too, as a sort of personal note, this is also an LA film, a Los Angeles film, an LA film. So this is, I suppose, my first time. I think I've spoken about this film, Repo Man, a little bit before on this YouTube channel, but this is my first time to speak about this film to a certain degree anyway. after having moved from Japan to Los Angeles. So right now I'm living in Los Angeles, so it's really quite remarkable. So I'm looking at, for instance, the booklet. Part of the fun thing about the booklet is that on the background is Emilio Estevez's character Otto, and you have the back, which is a kind of map of Los Angeles. And I'm looking at it, and I see some of the names on the map, and I can recognize them because they're really near to where I live, actually. So like Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach. My goodness. Sepulveda Boulevard. Yes, Harbor City. It's great. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Hawthorne. So it's like I now recognize these names. So that's a little bit of a lot of sort of icing on the proverbial sort of cupcake there, or something, or cherry on top of the sundae, I suppose. It's a lot of cherries, and it's a lot of icing, because that's really cool. This is also a great 80s film. It's also a great Los Angeles film. As I say, it breaks boundaries. It's a punk rock film. Uh, it's a chase film. It's a comedy of errors. It's kind of like, gosh, it's like, it's one part Kiss Me Deadly, another part, oh my goodness, Taxi Driver. It's maybe some parts, gosh, like Raising Arizona. Some parts Back to the Future. Some parts RoboCop. You can throw in there a little bit of, oh gosh. Um, and you throw in there the sort of the threat of nuclear holocaust, aliens, close encounters of the third kind, and like I don't, just the it's a great punk rock aesthetic. 80s film aesthetic, the kind of the comedy of errors in this wonderful, lovely pop art street trash aesthetic, which is absolutely glorious, absolutely beautiful, with a number of wonderful song beats to boot. Perfect rhythm of performance and characters that's just upping the ante in terms of mayhem and chaos, and then just absurdity upon absurdity, and just absolutely bonkers scene on top of bonkers scene, and then the number of characters that flow in and out of the scene like a kind of oh gosh, just this sort of a creative hurricane-like effect, and then we follow along our hero or anti-hero, depending on how we view it. This is the Emilio Estevez character of Otto, as he goes essentially kind of almost a fish out of water, or almost out of place, almost just by random chance happening to be in maybe the right place in the right time, or the wrong place at the wrong time. Because, well, I guess let's go into the plot or the story structure of this film. And again, I'll try to avoid speaking about the details of the film for the benefit of those who have not yet seen this great film, Repo Man. But we have a number of things happening at once. We have this car, this Malibu car, that has a driver, that already, it opens the film already, we're not sure what's going on. It seems kind of odd. There's a stop by a patrol person or patrolman, and there's something about the opening of a trunk that suddenly causes a huge weird flash of light and disintegration, and that kind of opens the film. So we're already getting weird film noir 1950s Kiss Me Deadly, Cold War nuclear explosion types of feel of this. And then we go from there to a kind of introduction to some of our main characters, kind of down and out, or down on his luck, but sort of devil may care, WTF type of attitude, which is wonderful in the form of Emilio Estevez, and the kind of absurdity of being working at the supermarket with generic tins and generic labels, and friends who seem to be kind of backstabbing, but also not knowing where else to go. So this maybe being almost wonderfully almost aloof and aimless in a world that doesn't necessarily seem to welcome him, but he doesn't really mind, and just he takes it for what it is. And it has that almost this wonderful thing about punk rock in the hands of Alex Cox. There's this it's a kind of it's a kind of viewpoint that is very malleable, uh, that has the appearance of being perhaps nihilistic, but in fact there's a sense of a kind of Zen acceptance, which is also, I think, very, very important to an understanding or appreciation of sort of the ambiance that I think is being struck by Alex Cox and Harry Dean Stanton and company in Repo Man. There's a kind of of transcendental Eastern philosophy type of acceptance that seems to be pervading the atmosphere, even when things just go so chaotic. And the events of Otto that take him from, essentially being fired from his job and losing his girlfriend, to then suddenly being thrust into the world of uh, of repossessing cars and automobiles, thanks to his chance encounter with people like Harry Dean Stanton, and then this is also his form of employment that then leads him to cross paths with a number of characters along the way, including a mysterious car that may or may not, that has some kind of weird heat effect that may or may not have something to do with something that's being emitted or that's contained within the trunk of the car. And then, not to mention, who else is after this object or this car or whatever? Is it just the repo men in question, or is it also government forces, government agencies? And then we get into and then the military scientists and the whole lot. And then you throw into the mix a lot of jumps and jolts and absurdities, and the possibility of, say, nuclear Armageddon, sort of a 1980s kind of crash consumerism, and this sense of kind of furthering divide in terms of the wealthy classes and the haves and have-nots, while also trying to stake a claim for oneself in terms of kind of place in the world, either this world or the beyond, while also being a real uh, I mean, a wonderful way that Alex Cox does films like Repo Man and other films that he's done. It's a kind of a middle finger. It's a sort of fu to a type of establishment viewpoint, and it really is uh, trailblazing, almost burning down, a kind of proverbial speaking, burning down of bridges in a manner of speaking. There's a kind of anarchy of style that is itself very entertaining and very fruitful and very funny and comedic. It's also quite a devil may care, destructive, or capturing of a kind of destructive forces that may or may not be within the purview and control of our main characters like Bud or Otto or others. So, and that's part of the visceral thrill and fun and charm and style of Repo Man. So it's a comedy of errors. It's a sort of episodic nature of adventure upon adventure upon adventure that has something to do with a car, something to do with something that's in the trunk of the car that may or may not have real apocalyptic proportions. Let me put it that way. So that is, I would say, how one might describe the essence of the plot or story structure of Repo Man. I mean, it is a film that I think just it rings true. Well, I mean, rings true is the right is not the right phrase to use. There is a feeling. Okay, let me take a step back. There is a lot of 80s goodness in this film, Repo Man. And I remember when I first saw Repo Man, I didn't know it. I never saw it in the theater, but I knew the very famous poster art with Emilio Estevez standing kind of tough looking in front of a car. And it gave off a lot of I thought it was setting itself up to be a very scary movie that was almost like about, I don't know, maybe 80s cinema style vigilante justice or something. That was what conjured up in my mind when I saw the poster. So when I was able eventually to watch the film, track it down and watch the film, holy smokes, was I just taken aback by it. It just blew me out of my chair, and I was struck by how funny it was. And I mentioned earlier, it has some parts like Kiss Me Deadly and some parts Raising Arizona, the great Coen brothers film. I love Raising Arizona. It just goes from place to place to place and adventure to adventure. That's what Repo Man feels like to me. You have Otto just flung this way and that. misadventures, some of which are his own doing, and others are completely out of his control. It's just random, what the heck is going on type of situations, which is part of the fun and charm and appeal. And a lot of comedy is generated from those random chance moments. And Alex Cox and company really know how to time the comedy with a singular perfection, which I think is really quite golden. And the sort of the randomness and chance, which is also, I think, very much part of a kind of, and there's another thumbs up here. So again, AI generated thumbs up button. So please thumbs up if you can, but no worries if you don't want to. I don't mind either way, but you do what you want to do. But going back to Repo Man, which I would give a thumbs up to, not to me talking about it, but to the film itself, Repo Man. It would be like this sort of anarchy of style that's random and chance, but also there's this grand design. So there's a sense of conspiracy in the air. There's a sense of what's the phrase? Big brothers watching you. There's also the sense of establishment, anti-establishment, and the punk rock aesthetic, the punk cinema aesthetic of Alex Cox fits into that like hand in glove. Oh, so perfectly. And not only is it giving room for the potential of, say, social commentary in a work like Recommend, but it is one heck of a fantastic time at the movies, because not only do you have this anarchic reverie in the form of many famous set pieces and designs, and just brilliant bursts of just random absurd dialogue that makes it even all the funnier. But we have again. At the center, of the core of this, a number of brilliant performances across the board, brilliant, and these quirky, maybe cameos in one sense, or maybe these types of in jokes in another, or maybe references to sort of the music scene in other events. And a number of performers that I know. People who might not necessarily know Alex Cox or might not necessarily know Repo Man will certainly recognize a lot of the people who appear here. So it has that kind of a vibe and sensibility. And of course, the music scene is of course well represented. And I mentioned Iggy Pop, also Circle Jerks, the Untouchables, and Dick Rude and others. And it's just that soul, that jagged edge soul that seems to be that of Alex Cox. That wonderful maverick spirit that he has is just totally emboldened here on in the aesthetic and beauty that is the work Repo Man. And there's so many in jokes here. All these references, all these in jokes are just again off the charts. And so it's a lot of fun. This is a film that's densely packed. A really densely packed film, so it invites a lot of rewatch, and that's, I think, has elevated this film to its hyper cult status. I mean, this is one of the great cult films, and one of the great films of the 1980s, and one of the great Alex Cox films. For excellent reason. And I should say too that among the aesthetic and among the soundtrack, etc., which is also a huge hit, by the way, there's also the fantastic performances, and I mentioned people that one might recognize filling in these roles. Like Milo Sandoval or Dick Rude or some, or and then people like Harry Dean Stanton, Tracy Walter. I'm a big fan of Tracy Walter. This so many great Tracy Walter roles. Probably this and what's the other Tracy Walter role I really enjoy? He played this actor also played a character named Bob. His name was Bob in a film from 1989, which is called Batman. So Tracy Wall, I love I love his performance. It's the perfect. It's capturing the perfect tone, the perfect note, pitch perfect. Uh, as a kind of Zen master bum who is perhaps more knowledgeable than meets the eye. Let me put it that way. That's so perfect, absolutely perfect. Then kudos and props go to again the great pitch that is captured by Harry Dean Stanton, who's kind of the the every man, the every person, the ordinary guy type of vibe to it, which is also itself its own sort of self-parodied absurdity in the hands of Harry Dean Stanton and Alex Cox in a very, I think, delightful way. But it's also another wonderful pulse moment. And then Emilio Estevez, who has this great sense of youthful, as I say, not caring, but also not knowing what his place is, and then just not knowing what's going on, which is even better. And then maybe just wanting to get off, the rebound off of being essentially dumped by his older girlfriend, and then trying to meet someone new and have another girlfriend, and then trying to rebound after losing his job, getting another job, what to do with his parents. That's just the beginning with his character, and then you lay on top of all this stuff about his job and the repossessing the car and going there and there and then going up and all. It's great, absolutely great. So it's wonderfully absurd. It's deeply funny, laugh out loud humor is funny. It is amazing, jaw dropping, and it's eye poppingly excellent. This film is Repo Man. So um, the Criterion Collection has a good one when it comes to releases like Repo Man, and a re-release of this, like we have here in 2024, is a wonderful reminder of not just how wonderful this release is, but how great this film is overall. This is the work again, which is from 1984, and it is the work by Alex Cox, which is the great classic film Repo Man. The Criterion Collection has re-released this film, Repo Man, courtesy of this release in 2024. This is the 4K UHD plus Blu-ray combo edition, so it has two discs, the 4K disc and then the Blu-ray disc. This is purported to be based on what's called a new 4K digital restoration approved by director Alex Cox with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. And I should just point out, for those who might be interested, the earlier Blu-ray, single disc Blu-ray is what I have here. So the contours of the packaging and the cover art, it's more or less the same. Just accounting for a little bit of difference in terms of thickness of dimension, etc. But the packaging itself, as you can see, the details of the front and back and top and bottom and side to side remain pretty much intact. But with regard to the master, the new release has, in the great glue-bound booklet, which I love, it says about the master, and I quote, Repo Man is presented in director Alex Cox's preferred aspect ratio of 1.78 to 1. Approved by Cox, this new 4K master was created from the 35mm original camera negative. The original monaural soundtrack was remastered from the 35mm original DME magnetic soundtrack. The features presenting in Dolby Vision HDR high dynamic range on the 4K Ultra HD disc and high definition SDR standard dynamic range on the Blu-ray. So that's the new release. Just in case you're interested, the earlier Blu-ray from 2013, so it's about 10 years ago, or over 10 years ago, had about its transfer. It said it was also, the older Blu-ray was also 1.78 to 1. And it says approved by director Alex Cox. The transfer at the time was created in 2K resolution on an Aeroscan film scanner from the original camera negative, etc. The original monaural soundtrack was remastered at 24-bit from the original 35mm DME magnetic soundtrack, etc. So I would say that the Blu-ray, the earlier 2013 release, I thought was always really good and quite excellent, in fact. And so the new 4K restoration, it feels a little bit crisper. There are some minor differences where I would say there's a sharpness which I really appreciate, but not so heads and shoulders totally different or totally totally quote unquote better than what we ever had in, say, the earlier 2013 Blu-ray. So I would say it feels like it's a minor maybe there's a there are some discernible differences, but nothing that would either make this totally stand out or make the earlier Blu-ray totally a letdown. So on the contrary, it seems like it is a noticeable, somewhat discernible 4K restoration difference, but not to knock anything that we had earlier. So my feeling, and I've seen the film a number of times now in the 4K, and at least to my, again, very limited eyes and ears, and my terrible knowledge, my shallow knowledge of the film Repo Man. That being said, I can't really tell if there have been any marked changes that would make this release or this version watching stand out in a positive or negative way compared to how I've known the film earlier. So um, it's an interesting case, is it worth really getting the 4K if you already have the Blu-ray, which I say is really good or has always been good to begin with? It's a hard question. So it's, as I say, it's a really good 4K restoration, but I don't know, maybe there was already, all the ground was more or less covered by how it was handled in the 2K Blu-ray, 2K restoration for the Blu-ray, that it was already good as it stood. So maybe it's one of those situations. In which case, I think I think if you had your choice of getting either version and you didn't have it yet, then I think you have a good, robust debate in your hands in terms of which you prefer, the 4K or the earlier or the standalone Blu-ray. And I'll leave that up to you, but. For those who already have the Blu-ray, I'm not sure if it might be worth getting the 4K. If it is, definitely consider it, especially for those who are fans of Repo Man and you want to have as complete a Repo Man library of versions as possible, or releases as possible. That's definitely the case. But again, for those who already have the earlier Blu-ray and you're very satisfied with it, then chances are you may keep that Blu-ray. I just happen to have. I mean, of course, not of course, but I have the 4K release. I'm a fan of Criterion, so I purchased these on my own. So I'm always curious as to what the new releases have in store, if anything. So it feels like there are discernible differences. So I'm very comfortable with my purchase of the 4K release, but I can understand if those who are already happy with the older Blu-ray will decide to stick with that. So I will leave it up to you and your own good choice based on your experience. But anyway, I'm still overall very impressed with how this now looks and sounds, courtesy of the Criterion release in 2024. And so now let us turn to what we have in terms of the supplements and also the commentary track. So the first thing I want to go to is the commentary track. So I have one of the discs in the machine here. It's actually the Blu-ray that I have. You have the 4K disc and then the Blu-ray. If you want to watch the film, you can use either the 4K disc or the Blu-ray disc. And if you want to watch the film with the commentary track, either disc will serve such purpose, not a problem. But just for purposes of today, I have the Blu-ray in the machine. And so let me just select commentary, and it'll give you a brief description of what the commentary is. And it says, and I quote, "This audio commentary, recorded in 2000, features director Alex Cox, executive producer Michael Nesmith, casting director Vittorio Thomas, and actors Cy Richardson, Xander Schloss, and Del Zamora. To listen to the commentary while viewing the movie plus audio key on your player." So this is a really lovely, irreverent, casual commentary track, and it's very casual, very lovely, and it covers a number of things. For instance, the appearance of Fox Harris in a kind of key role, and also anecdotes about driving. There are a lot of driving scenes, and also about the opening shot, how to open it, and there's a lot of concern about hair and the hair choices. And I think there's an anecdote elsewhere about Miguel Sandoval about the choice he had to make about his hair, and how that would be part of the reason why he got cast in a role. Kind of punk character, and then so there's a lot of importance placed on hair and hairstyles, which is really great. And then there's a kind of Western film aesthetic that's part of this, the old Western attitude. You get a lot of that with Emilio Estevez and Harry Dean Stanton, who are great choices. And then the commentary track also talks about like how quotable this is. There are so many great quotable lines in this, and there's a sense of Emilio Estevez's generation, the young generation, at least in the context of the film, they're almost somewhat like maybe unmotivated or maybe somewhat maybe seeming to be unruly. I'm not sure, but perhaps lethargic, morally lethargic or something. So then when they are thrust into these adventures like Otto is, and these madcap routines, it's really kind of a, as I say, fish out of water or oil and water type of situation, and it's the cause of a lot of comic hijinks along the way. A lot of chaos in this film. Chaos and anarchy run amok. Um, and you throw in a little splattering of film noir and film noir film noir, Harry Dean Stanton and Iggy Pop, and the rest, as I say, is history. So, um, and there's also mentioning in the commentary track about how popular the album was. Again, this is a punk rock film. It's a punk cinema film, and it's just little details of like the Christmas tree air freshener. Um, and the appearance of that, I would say, one can make the argument that this film, Repo Man, is kind of a Christmas movie in a manner of speaking. So it's that Tracy Walters performance, etc. So, um, and the whole aesthetic about the agents and the bomb and what happens at the end. There's also some little details about the ending as well, which I won't talk about too much here. And then the photography by Robbie Mueller, how he worked on the set, and the kind of this lovely funny anecdotes about that as well. So overall, I mean, this is a carryover commentary track from 2000. It's utterly enchanting, really captivating and very entertaining. So please check it out if you can. Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, before I continue, I should point out that this is a kind of a montage of images that are moving in this lovely aesthetic that is reminiscent of what we have in the overall package and cover art design, which itself is a lovely story. So the Blu-ray menu is epic, but it is moving images. So just in case, it might be a bit of overkill on my part, but I apologize. But just in case, I have blocked it out of this YouTube video just to avoid any possibility of offending the YouTube copyright gods. I know that sometimes YouTube copyright gods might be a little bit on the sensitive side. So just to be on the safe side, I've blocked it out. But please rest assured, the Blu-ray or the 4K menu is standout excellent. The green and black and sort of the comic book feel to it is great. But my point also is, yes, you can also watch the film with the commentary, either with the 4K disc or the Blu-ray disc. So please check it out. It's a great commentary track. So please check it out. But continuing on, let's continue on with the supplements, if we may. So I'm going to go back to the menu, and below the selection where it says commentary, there's a section that says supplements, and I'm going to press that, and it's going to come up with a number of supplements. So the first one that's here is Play-Doh Shrimp. And it says, and I quote, "The following interview piece features musician Keith Morris and actors Dick Rude, Olivia Barash, and Miguel Sandoval. The interviews were conducted in the winter of 2012. So this is a kind of a collection of interviews edited together in this one supplement. It's approximately 19 minutes overall. So really great. A lot of great anecdotes that emerge here. So, for example, Dick Rude talking about kind of the cross section aesthetic of Repo Man as being punk rock meets sci-fi meets Ronald Reagan, and among other things too. That's really great. And also, Dick Rude was he says here that he was maybe probably vying for the role of Otto, which is interesting, but it ended up going to Emilio Estevez. But at the end of the day, he wasn't hurt in the long run. I mean, it served the purpose. He's still in the film, and then Keith Morris too, talking about circle jerks, and also a kind of punk rock aesthetic that Alex Cox was looking for. There was aspects of that was really authentic punk rock, and it was a great, refreshing counter to, say, other films from other studios or other places that were maybe released contemporaneously, but may not necessarily have the same quote unquote authentic punk rock vibe. Where this film is, Alex Cox knows what he's trying to capture. So, and Olivia Barash is talking about her role. It's a kind of interesting role in how she was asked to do some research about UFOs and people who were interested in like UFO conventions and the like. So and it was a really interesting time for her to be enveloped in that or sort of immersed in that community, even if it was for a temporary point. So and Miguel Sandoval, who's also really great. And you recognize him from another other roles, but talks about among other things his hair, the hair that was decided upon in for his character in Repo Man. It's really wonderful. Um, and then to Alex Cox, working with Alex Cox, apparently he's very open to ideas. Uh, kind of, I mean, he's also Alex Cox. You get to hear him in a number of interviews, not just for his own films, for other films throughout, say, titles in the Criterion Collection, for example, like in say talking about Godzilla or something like that. But he is himself his own super knowledgeable and his own force of nature when it comes to cinema knowledge and also craft skills. So and then too, talking about the success of the soundtrack, Xander Schloss, etc. Uh, Chris Penn is mentioned a little bit, which is an interesting side anecdote, etc. So, but anyway, Plate O Shrimp. Really, really cool stuff. This is totaling approximately 19 minutes. So that's the first thing. So please check this supplement out if you can. Next up, Iggy Pop. Okay. And what it says here is this interview with Iggy Pop was conducted in 2012. That's it. That's all it says. I love it. It's just one line. It's so great. But okay, this is about 12 minutes and it's Iggy Pop one on one. And he is, he's talking a lot, very frankly, very honestly. He's talking about how he was essentially approached for doing, contributing to the music, which ended up being sort of the theme, a very famous theme, which is then repeated, or kind of in orchestral fashion, kind of throughout the piece. So it has this sort of ubiquity, which is lovely. It's very famous, very iconic. But he expresses how Alex Cox essentially approached him and asked him to participate at a point in Iggy Pop's life and career where he admits that he was kind of down and out and he was not in a good place and maybe no one necessarily was eager to work with him at the time and so but he said he lived near what is it, the Whiskey a Go Go, so he calls it he was on the ropes. It was one of the moments where he had hiccups in his career, but then Alex Cox came in and gave him this opportunity to work here. It's really great and talks a little bit too about the recording session, where it was recorded, who the musicians were, and certain key roles of the recording. And two, also Iggy Pop talks about just his reaction to punk and his admitted lack of awareness about the various, and so about he wasn't necessarily had a strong well of knowledge about punk rock, at least as far as he suggests, but that didn't stop him from sort of reacting to it, responding to it in many ways, including the form that we see here as manifested and what ultimately became what's known as the Repo Man theme, which also is one of the things that is a kind of living epitaph for him as he shows how, in terms of the closing moments of this interview, which is a lovely, lovely thing. So anyway, the interview with Iggy Pop, it's so cool. He's like his shirt is open and he's sitting out in like the sunshine and just talking and that wonderful. He's got that Iggy Pop type of sense about his voice, but it's also very. I love how it goes into so many places and a lot of honest places too. So it talks to you about the old, new, and the new, like Harry Dean Stanton and Emilio Estevez, like the new, and the old. That's great. It's great observation, very thoughtful. So anyway, Iggy Pop, the interview with Iggy Pop, with approximately 12 minutes. Please check it out if you can. It's great. Next is Repossessed. Oh my goodness. So this roundtable discussion about the making of Repo Man features director Alex Cox, producers Peter McCarthy and Jonathan Wax, and actors Del Zamora and Cy Richardson and Dick Rude. It was recorded in 2005. So it's kind of a round table. It's the three of them sitting in a room at a table. and with a like a video recorder recording them. And then we have some shots that are outside, maybe like in like locations with some of the other actors, such as Delza Moore and Cy Richardson and others. So um, anyway, so it's 25 minutes. It's absolutely brilliant. And they talk to you about here from the producer's perspective how they got the film made. Eventually, they were able to connect with Michael Nesmith. Very famous in the musical scene, of course. But and then that went a long way into ultimately jump starting the film. The participation of Harry Dean Stanton. There's some little hints about, and it also occurs in the next supplement about there might have been some disagreements between Harry Dean Stanton and Alex Cox in certain modes. But it ended up, I mean, at the end of the day, Alex Cox made a great film, and Harry Dean Stanton gave a great performance. So, I talked to you about Xander, Dick Rude, and how he was maybe eyeing for the role of Otto, which ended up going to Emilio Estevez. Also, talk about other aspects of the casting. Also, Alex Cox seems to be soaking up so much influence from so many places, just like a sponge, just creative sponge, and just being able to express it so much. There's a point too that where the producers ask him whether Alex Cox considers Repo Man to be a satire, and his answer is quite fascinatingly elusive. Kudos for that as well. Actually, comes up to mind to me as well. Do I consider this a satire? Is it a full-throated critique? Is it just sort of an up-in-arms type of 80s bunkers road movie comedy? Or is it or is it other than that? Or is it everything, all of the above and more? So, and they talk to you about this being an LA film, the contribution of Robbie Mueller and the camera work and kind of the sort of the stubborn stoicism of this great artist as well, and just wonderful, lovely anecdotes about the camera director of photography, and also just talking about some moments. Cy Richardson, there's a moment with him, and he had to kind of make up a line. He was asked to sort of make up a line on the spot where he's by a car and there's some gunfire, and Emilio Estevez. There's one of the lines that he comes up with is now he's so famous and for it, and people when he's recognized on the street, they'll say the line. It's a really funny line. And Del Zamora too. There's a scene. It's reminiscent. There's a lot of L.A. Architecture here, so and it's wonderful. And then it's talking about how many revisions there were to the draft. There's some mention here about what the original ending was, and Alex Cox here says he doesn't really remember those details and how the script was pretty much given the green light as it was. So he doesn't remember that any issue of any ending changes that was required. But apparently there must have been, or there could have been. But and he also Alex Cox talks about his idea for a sequel if ever the powers that be decided to greenlight a sequel. So in any event, very cool stuff. So the round table plus, as it were. This is, what did I say? It's approximately 25 minutes. So please check that out if you can. Okay. Next is Harry Zen Stanton. Oh my goodness. Okay. The following discussion between actor Harry Dean Stanton and producer Peter McCarthy was filmed in 2005. Oh, go boy. This is like going down, I think, maybe in sort of the annals of maybe greatest famous or infamous interviews to be captured in a Criterion supplement or Blu-ray supplement. The interview with Harry Dean Stanton here is just it has to be seen to be believed. It's just it's on a different wavelength. I love it. It's completely like there are just times where Harry Dean Stanton is just he's acerbic and he's funny and he's also stubborn and he's just I'm not sure I'm not sure whether the question and the answer have any type of potential link up possibilities in the slightest. It's just on a completely different wavelength, and I love it, absolutely love it. It's like cosmic and also confusing. It's perplexing and very philosophical. And he's also very, I think in that way, Harry Dean Stanton is himself very down to earth, and he's not at all providing any airs about, in his words, he's not trying to pretend to be anything other than who he is. And so when they're trying to, maybe wax poetic about certain questions about cinema, he kind of brushes it off and just says, it is what it is, that kind of attitude, which I find very, very romantic and very appealing. And that's one of the reasons why I think Harry Dean Stanton will be forever beloved forever. I mean, his legacy will be just forever remembered in terms of his performance and just who he was. And also, there's this great moment where they sing like "Row, row, row your boat" while Harry Dean Stanton is singing the guitar. I mean, it's wonderful. I suddenly get like Star Trek Five vibes, chills to it. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. And he's asked about his favorite directors and stuff, but he doesn't quite take the bait, and just mentions a number of directors that he worked with, and Coppola, Lynch, etc. And as you said, he also expresses that he's had certain disagreements with Alex Cox. But again, at the end of the day, the work speaks for itself. It's a classic film. It's a great Alex Cox film. It's a great Harry Dean Stanton film. And he's asked whether he thinks about future generations. I think he was asked, like one of the questions, it was a kind of a bizarrely worded question. He was asked, "Do you procreate?" And he's like, and Harry Dean Stanton's like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Like that sort of, it was that kind of question. It was really kind of a random question. I think but the point was, does Harry Dean Stanton think about the future like the generations younger than him? Which, if it were worded like that, that was interesting. But he says, "Do you procreate?" Like, huh? But anyway, and that's one of the reasons why it's just so just funny. It's just that it itself it captures the Repo Man film vibe to it. But and then it goes on to topics about politics, about the Iraq War, about George W. Bush, and anyway. So it's and then Harry Dean Stanton playing guitar as they both sing "Row, row, row your boat" in this interview. It's an epic interview. It's probably one of the greatest interviews ever to be captured on tape. And included in any physical media release. So Harry Zen Stanton. Okay, this is approximately 21 minutes. You got to, and anyway, okay, and then we have the missing scenes. The missing scenes section is itself its own little mini adventure. It says here, director Alex Cox, executive producer Michael Nesmith, neutron bomb inventor Sam Cohen, and character J. Frank Parnell watch and discuss a selection of deleted scenes from Repo Man. They were recorded in 2012. I'm sorry, I'm laughing out loud because I'm just recalling what this was. This is so joyous and fun and wonderful. You get comments from the neutron bomb inventor Sam Cohen, and just talking about what the philosophy behind the creation of the neutron bomb was, and the application in a sort of military strategic context of the neutron bomb. You get that sort of general mission statement, if you will, from Sam Cohen, and then you suddenly see Alex Cox in the room. And then he says, "Do you want to watch some deleted scenes from the film?" He says, "Okay." And they watch the film. There's a VHS player on top of the TV. It's one of those VHS DVD combo machines that they used to have back in the day. And you put in a VHS tape, and they watch. It's sort of it's set up where Alex Cox is showing Sam Cohen random deleted scenes, and Alex Cox is asking, "What do you think about this scene? Should have been? What do you think about?" And like Sam Cohen's like, "Oh yeah, it's interesting." He's adding it. There's certain aspects of death in this film, in this scene, or that. It's great, and like, oh my goodness, it's this is again the random anarchy beat of Alex Cox and Repo Man in full display in supplements like that. It's wonderful, and also too the deleted scenes themselves. They're absolutely fascinating. Some scenes actually do make an appearance in a TV version of the film, which we'll talk about in a moment. But and some you might see one scene here or there that pops up in one of the trailers as well. But very cool scenes. It would be there's also a scene too involving which I love, which is Emil Estevez and his parents, and they're watching a TV. It's anyway. Okay, so and then also not to mention of course I've also mentioned not just Sam Cohen but also J. Frank Parnell, and he's all put in on this performance, and also too the way that the supplement ends. It almost is like in the previous supplement there's a talk about what the potential original ending was, and so I don't want to say exactly what it is, but it seems like this supplement then takes that original ending and chooses that as the means to end the supplement. Let me just put it that way. It's really cool, by the way. So anyway, that was 25 minutes. And what do we have next? Oh, and what do you have next? We're not done yet. We have the TV version. Oh my goodness. Okay. This is an actual full version of the film. It's about like an hour 40 minutes, an hour 37 minutes. So you actually get two versions of the film in this release. And so you have this TV version. It says, director Alex Cox collaborated with actor Dick Rude on a cleaned up version, quote, cleaned up version of Repo Man for broadcast television. It incorporates outtakes and unused scenes, employs differently looped dialogue to replace profanity, and removes all instances of drug use. Presented here in its entirety is that version. Okay, so this is a really great version as well. There are moments where it kind of fades to black, kind of randomly, almost like in a TV commercial rhythm pace to it. I'm not sure if it was done on purpose. And also, yeah, there are ways in which it's got that TV looped dialogue, like funniness to it, which I love. And yeah, there's also some ways in which the like deleted scenes that we saw a little bit of before, some of them are actually put into this version. So it's very, very cool. The TV version. So you're getting two versions for the price of one here. So that's really wonderful. So, but anyway, that's the TV version. And then the trailers. We have a couple trailers here. Yes, to round out the supplements. Oh, my goodness. So I think what we have here, my understanding is everything that we had in the previous version of Repo Man from 10 years ago, we have carried over. Nothing new, I think. I don't think there's anything new here. For the occasion of the 2024 release. But that's okay. That's not a problem. We already had stuff that was really great. So including the commentary track. So anyway, please check this out if you can, the supplements that are included with Criterion's release of Repo Man. And now let us just conclude our conversation on this great release or re-release of the film Repo Man, courtesy of the Criterion Collection. Let's talk about the contours of this. This is, okay, I'm just going to just say it right out loud, which is this is one of the great physical media packaging releases from Criterion ever. The artwork is standout. The packaging, it's just divine. Look at that with the Repo Man aesthetic, along with the skull and bones and the map of Los Angeles, etc. So it's all perfect, absolutely perfect. And then we have the booklet too, which is. Oh, and so I'm sorry. This is also the Digipack art design. So we've got the front, the back. Look at the details on the sides here and the spine, and you tack the outer sleeve and the inner sleeve. You've got this great aesthetic here. Look at this. This is like its own thing of beauty. And you've got the two discs here, and the discs themselves are conspicuously bland, which is a lovely detail. You have the little detail. It just says Repo Man here in small print, but it's just, that's it. It's this white. Oh, it's great. It's almost got this hazmat suit like quality to it. I don't know. Oh, I love it. And the green, like green ooze. Radioactive ooze type of quality and feel to it, and Los Angeles and skulls and punk and the mohawk. It's great. And the booklet. Look at this. This is the classic staple booklet. This has so many pages. It's 67, 68 pages of Criterion booklet goodness. It's got the chapters list, cast and credits, and also the Sam F. Peters writing A Lattice of Coincidence, which is great. And also the repo code by Alex Cox, which is also great. A Repo Man Speaks Out, which is also great. And look at this too. It's got the artwork. It's got some like facsimile copies of budget summaries and sort of comic book aesthetic design. And then this is its own little like mini adventure of this booklet. I'm glad this was carried over here. Art director Sarah Habib, cover illustration Jay Shaw, folder illustration Tyler Stout, book and menu design Rob Jones, book illustrations Rob Jones, Jay Shaw, etc. This is another legendary booklet. This is one of the great booklets of Criterion releases ever in my view. It could be one of the. It's probably like in the top, top 5. No, not even like top 3. Just absolutely fantastic, standout stuff. Look at that. Just look at that. And as I say, I just love, now I can look at as I mentioned, I can look at this and I can say, oh, I know some of these places. I can see, it says torrents. There's a little like word here that says torrents in small print next to the title Repo Man on the cover of Criterion. I can't believe it, how things come full circle. But in any event, that is the the great writings. Please watch the film Repo Man and then enjoy the lovely booklet. It's a brick, and it goes in like this. And you shut the compartment, and then you close it. You house it back into the shell, and there you go. And then that's Repo Man in a nutshell, or in a Digipack shell. It's one of the great releases in Criterion history, my dear friends, and the 4K restoration. Maybe for some, you'll already be content with the great release as it stood 10 years ago. But if you're in the mood for the 4K restoration, you're going to be in great hands with this. So, in any event, So much fun stuff to revisit and revisit and revisit some more. And that's the stuff, that's why Criterion is so great at what it does. It gives us the opportunity to learn about films like this in this fun and interactive manner. Great stuff. This is the Criterion release of a re-release of the great film Repo Man. All right, my dear friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well. And please keep on watching a lot of great movies, including Repo Man, including other films by Alex Cox, including other films in the Criterion Collection, and beyond. So until we see each other again, my dear friends, stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.